The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, the definitive sequel to Ocarina of Time, crowned as one of, if not, the best game of all time, ranked number 1 on Metacritic. It had great gameplay, great story, great ideas, great difficulty, it had it all. Though going back to it now, it's definitely aged. Mostly stuff like the awful water temple. But some of these flaws were fixed in the 3DS version, which is why many people say the 3DS version is the definitive way to play the game. It's completely understandable for why this is rated as the best game of all time. Heck, it even got a sequel. 2 sequels. 3 sequels. Even A Link to the Past, which came out years before this game came out, also took place after Ocarina of Time. Yeah, that is the power of Ocarina of Time. But Majora's Mask was the first sequel to the game, releasing a little under 2 years after Ocarina of Time released. It released on the same console, and also received very high reviews. The deadline for the game wasn't pretty though, so the devs had to get creative to save time during development. They began development shortly after Ocarina of Time released, planning for it to be just an expansion of Ocarina of Time, until 6 months later, they decided to start over and make it its own thing. And they only had a year left at this point. And Majora's Mask was released in April of 2000 in Japan, October in America, and November in Europe. And just like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask also received a 3DS version in 2015. Both games also received GameCube versions, but those two were just poorly emulated from what I heard. However, unlike Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask wasn't well received on the 3DS, outside of critics of course. I, along many others, first played this game on the 3DS, but what I didn't know at the time was the 3DS version changed a lot from the original. I'm not going to get into full detail, but this video here does, so I'll put the link to that in the description. But now I have an N64 and an original copy of the game. The original is a definitive way to play according to many Zelda fans. And this isn't just any ordinary copy I have it complete in box. This was not a cheap purchase at all. But when I saw it at my local retro game store, I just couldn't say no. Being able to hold the box, read the manual, and see all these inserts from back in the day is a surreal experience. I miss these manuals so much, man. Seeing all this art and learning what everything does is so cool. And since this is the collector's edition of the game, I also have the holographic cartridge. I wish more games did this. This is very cool. I'm definitely not going to buy another game like this complete in box anytime soon because not only is it expensive, I gotta save for the Switch too. It has now been 25 years since this game originally released. So let's see how well this game holds up now. The game takes place right after Link beat Ganon in Ocarina of Time. However, after he beat Ganon, his companion Navi left him. She was sent to guide Link on his adventure, but after Link defeated Ganon, her duty was fulfilled. But Link missed her, so he was searching the Lost Woods to find her. But upon doing so, he ran into 2 other fairies that startled Epona, and caused Link to fall off of her. And the Skull Kid appears. He searches Link while he was unconscious, and found the Ocarina of Time. He was having fun playing the notes, but Link wakes up and caught Skull Kid. Skull Kid steals Epona, and lures Link into this big tree. Link encounters Skull Kid, and the Skull Kid proves that he's more powerful than Link ever will be, and turns him into a Deku Scrub. But one of the fairies started bullying Link as Skull Kid was leaving, which caused her to get separated. So since she got cocky, she's now stuck with Link. She may not want to, but she decides to help Link navigate just like how Navi did in Ocarina of Time. This fairy's name is Tattle, and she has a completely different personality than Navi. Navi is full of wisdom while also being very annoying, while Tattle is more aggressive and moody. But thankfully she isn't nearly as annoying as Navi. As a Deku Scrub, Link controls a bit differently than how he normally does. Link doesn't have his sword and shield anymore, but now he can spin around and move a lot faster than he could normally. And we even get to learn new moves Deku Link can do. And once we reach the end of the area, we meet a new yet familiar face. The Happy Mask Salesman. I love this guy, he's so mysterious yet funny. He tells you that the mask the Skull Kid wears belongs to him. The salesman says he'll help Link turn back to normal as long as he gets Majora's Mask back to him. We are no longer in Hyrule anymore. This is Terina, pretty much an alternate universe of Hyrule. There's familiar faces to that of Hyrule, and alternate versions of the places in Hyrule. Instead of Kokiri Forest, there's a swamp that's infested by Deku Scrubs. Instead of Death Mountain, there's a summit with Gorons. Instead of Zora's Domain, there's the Great Bay, which still has Zoras. Instead of Gerudo, there's female pirates found in the Great Bay. The only thing mirroring the Hylian royal family is Clocktown, where instead of it being from the royal family, it's just a town with residents living here, and visiting for the night of the carnival, which workers are building structures for. But rumor has it that the moon in the middle of Terina will fall on the night of the carnival. There's only 3 days until the carnival, so Link has 3 days to save the world from the moon. There isn't a lot to do in the first 3 days, but helping the Great Fairy will give Link the power to shoot bubbles and use magic, which will be handy for later. And once we fast forward all the way to the final day, we have access to the top of the tower, where Skull Kid is waiting, and he summons the moon to crash down. Tael, Tattle's brother, tells us to go to the swamp, mountains, ocean, and canyon to find the 4 people. But the Skull Kid smacks him out of the way to not reveal such secrets. So now that we have the bubble, we can shoot one at the Skull Kid and obtain the Ocarina of Time. We get a flashback of Zelda, which is the only time Zelda appears in this game, how funny. And the Ocarina turns into Deku Pipes. And we play the Song of Time to undo everything. There's now 3 days again until the moon falls. We got the Ocarina of Time back, so now we can talk to the Happy Mask Salesman again. And he teaches us a song, the Song of Healing, which turns Link back to normal. And since we got the Ocarina of Time back, we can finally give him Majora's Mask back, which we never got. He tells us a little lore on Majora's Mask, and how it contains very dark power, and now Skull Kid has it, causing mischief and destruction. So he begs us to give it back, but now that we're back to normal, we can do exactly that. We follow Tael's instructions and head for the swamp. Now for the other things this game has to offer, starting with the graphics. This game, along with Donkey Kong 64, requires the expansion pack to play the game. Majora's Mask utilizes its features to have bigger draw distance and have much more enemies on screen, which is pretty effective. And despite running on the same engine as Ocarina of Time, there's a lot of upgrades to Majora's Mask, such as better lighting, better coloring. Link's model has also been upgraded from Ocarina of Time, making it look like he's grown a little bit since the last adventure. Also with the graphics, everywhere is fully rendered now. There's no longer these 2D sections that just haven't aged well at all in Ocarina of Time, and now everything is fully rendered. And with the lighting, it's pretty dang good for the hardware. And when it's evening, it reminds me a lot of Toy Story. And when it comes to video game music, Zelda is never the first thing I think of. Normally I want to bop to Mario music, jam out to Sonic music, levitate with Kirby music. Zelda is never what I think of. But Majora's Mask has this really good soundtrack. Alright, now we can continue to the swamp. The swamp is full of poisonous water. The Deku Princess and her monkey friend went to the Woodfall Temple to investigate, but upon doing so, Odalwa captured the Deku Princess and the monkey escaped. He went to go tell the Deku King the news, but the Deku King accused the monkey instantly for kidnapping her, and now he's about to be sacrificed. And the Deku King sounds like the bosses from Yoshi's Island. So the monkeys tell Link to go to Woodfall to save the princess and save the monkey. The forest temple is pretty easy, you know, it's just a good way to demonstrate how temples work. You got keys, maps, and compasses, all that stuff you know in the Zelda games. However, each dungeon also has stray fairies. The Great Fairy in Clocktown gives us the fairy mask, which we can use to collect the stray fairies and turn the Great Fairy back to normal in each area. And turning a Great Fairy back to normal rewards us with something special, such as having magic increase, more defense, and a very special one I'll save for later. There's also a bunch of other masks to collect. I already mentioned the fairy mask, but you have other stuff like the bunny hood, which makes you run faster, the stone mask, which makes you invisible to enemies, and a bunch of other ones for different side quests to get heart pieces. But there's two other masks that are very important. In the mountains, we get the Goron mask, which just lets you go so fast. Look how fast he goes, I love it so much! As well as strong punches and a ground pound. And the Zora mask, which is probably my favorite because it does the impossible by making water levels fun. I have never had this much fun with swimming controls in a video game. Anyway, the boss in this temple is Odalwa, who is about what you expect from a first boss. He does a bunch of random attacks, you can do a bunch of cool attacks on him. It's a pretty fun boss. The water was clean again. The Deku Princess gets really angry at the king and forces them to set the monkey free. And the butler challenges us to a race, which is pretty difficult. The snowy mountains are inhabited by Gorons. Where it's usually warm here, it's now very snowy. There's a cave where we can find the Lens of Truth, which reveals a Goron ghost. His name is Darmany. Darmany tried to defeat the boss of Snowhead Temple, which is Goat. But he ended up failing and now he's a ghost. But by playing the Song of Healing, he can finally rest in peace and turns into the Goron mask. There's a Goron baby who just won't stop crying, and this is the part of the game I don't miss the most. We unfreeze his dad, he teaches us the Goron's lullaby, well, part of it, to calm the baby. He finishes off the song and finally he stopped crying. About time. The Snowhead Temple is pretty complicated actually. You need the Lens of Truth to see invisible objects, and the stray fairies here are really well hidden. And you also get the fire arrows here. We got the bow in the Woodfall Temple. And the boss in Snowhead is Goat. You melt the ice surrounding him, and he just doesn't stop running. So you have to use the Goron mask to catch up to him and crash into him with the Goron mask. This boss is so much fun, it might be my favorite boss in the game. And after we defeat Goat, springtime returns to the mountains, and everyone thinks Darmany survived since they all mistook Link for Darmany. Here at the Great Bay, the water is murky, so fish are no longer coming here. And upon arriving here, we find a Zora who is washing up into shore. And once he's finally here, he just cannot move a muscle. He tells us that he's a part of a band, the Indigogos, but he does have at least enough energy to play one more song. And he goes absolutely nuts. He explains that the vocalist Lulu laid some weird eggs and pirates tried to steal them. He tried to get the eggs back himself, but the pirates ended up finishing him off. We play the Song of Healing, and he finally can rest in peace, and he turns into the Zora mask. We get the eggs from this underwater cavern that is full of eels, and we get 3 eggs here, and bring them to the Marine Research Lab where they're promised to be safe. And we get 4 more eggs from the Pirate's Fortress, I've always wondered what it is with Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask wanting you to kill women. We do some slick spy moves and get all the Zora eggs one by one and bring them to the Marine Research Lab, where they finally hatch and teach us a new song. With this new song, we can bring back Lulu's voice and turn this island into a turtle, and the turtle brings us to the Great Bay Temple. This one is notorious for just being very annoying, but honestly, I had a blast playing it. You have to turn on a bunch of faucets, swim around through the currents, use these ice arrows to make platforms. This is a very fun temple. This is whenever Zelda dungeons clicked for me. You see, in other Zelda games, I've always seen dungeons as a nuisance. A lot of people look forward to them, and I just found them pretty boring compared to exploring. But the Great Bay Temple was different. It was so much fun to use the ice arrows to stop the waterfall, swim around the currents to find different rooms. This was a very fun dungeon, and I'm shocked people are saying that it's just a water temple too. No, it is not. This is a very fun dungeon. And the boss here is Georg. I think that's how you say it right. You pretty much just have to wait for him to swim towards the middle so that he can bump you. Not the best boss in the game, but it's pretty fun. There isn't really anything wrong with Icona Canyon. This place has just always been kinda, unwelcoming to travelers. There's a mask we get in the game called the Garro's Mask, and the Garros are basically ancient warriors of Icona, or how most people recognize them as, Bob. There's a graveyard we can go to, which is where Dompe lives. We can awaken this ginormous stall child, who we chase down and begs for mercy once we defeat him. And he takes us to a treasure, which is the leader's mask, where we can actually talk to the other stall children. There's also a water wheel house that normally plays a song, but the river is all dried up, so it can't play any music to scare off ghosts or something. I forgot what it was actually really for. And going into the cave where the water normally comes from, there's a ghost that tries to take us down. Not even the Song of Healing can get through this one. So by talking to the stall children in the graveyard, we can open up a grave and find that exact ghost's brother, who teaches us the Song of Storms, and playing that to him will actually get him to stop. So now the river is back to flowing, and we can go inside the house to see that this little girl's father has become a mummy. But by playing the Song of Healing, we can turn him back to normal, and that gives us the Gibdo mask. Now we can talk to a bunch of Gibdos, and this is where I gave up on the 3DS version, cause I thought this was just optional. I didn't know this was a part of the main story. In the bottom of the well, there's a bunch of Gibdos, and by wearing the Gibdo mask, you can talk to them, but they're extremely needy. So you have to give each Gibdo a bunch of stuff to open a door, which turns into this big maze of having to give even more Gibdos more stuff just so that you can progress through the maze. Thankfully it wasn't that bad as I thought it would be, but it still took quite a while. And reaching the end gives us the Mirror Shield. And we made it to Icona Castle, which is pretty much a mini dungeon. We navigate through the areas with the Mirror Shield, and we make it to the throne room, where two skeletons try to stop us. And after we beat them, we fight the king of Icona. But even he didn't stand a chance. After we defeat those three, the king teaches us a new song, my least favorite song in the whole game, Elegy of Emptiness, which lets Link create a statue. And last and least, the Icona Tower. Oh boy, where do I start? You go to Icona Tower, hit the switch, play Elegy of Emptiness, so that the switch is still held, and then do that again and again and again until you finally reach the tower. Oh boy, Icona Tower. This dungeon is pretty cool actually. You start off doing a bunch of stuff you do in other dungeons, except you play Elegy of Emptiness again and again. But once you reach the Master of the Garros, he tells us how to flip the temple upside down, and then quite literally kills himself. Hit the switch of the light arrows we earned, and the whole place is upside down. This is cool, but there's a problem. If you miss a stray fairy whenever the place is right side up, you gotta go back, flip it back right side up, play Elegy of Emptiness again. Get the stray fairy, go back outside, play Elegy of Emptiness again. Go back and make progress. Oh, what's this? A switch you can only press whenever the temple is right side up? Go back, play Elegy of Emptiness again, and again, and again. You play this song so many times in this dungeon. It ruins the entire thing. This is such a cool dungeon. It was so close to being the best in the game, just for it to be ruined by the Elegy of Emptiness. The boss here is pretty cool though. Twin Mold is the final boss of the game before the final boss of the game. You get the Giant's Mask in this temple, and once you equip it, you become big. And you can just absolutely destroy Twin Mold. It's such a reward for such a stupid dungeon. And after I beat it, it was pretty late at night. I just wanted to go to bed. So I immediately save by playing the Song of Time, and then I realized something. I got all the stray fairies in Icona Tower, but I forgot to take them back to the fairy fountain. Whenever you reset time, all of your stuff is gone except for key items. Stray fairies don't count as key items. This took 4 hours. I have never hated the Zelda dungeon more than this one. I still can't get over the fact that we lost all those stray fairies. So now, we make it back to the top of Clock Tower, and we play the song to summon all the 4 giants, which come in to help the moon to stop from crashing into Terina. And something happens to Skull Kid. I guess the possession of the mask was finally leaving him, and the moon finally stops. Tattle and Tail are reunited, and Terina is saved. Except that the mask is done using Skull Kid. He flies off of him and heads inside the moon, where we follow it. And holy crap, it's very peaceful in here. It's so nice looking. There's a bunch of children in the area running around who are wearing the masks of the 4 bosses we defeated. And we have to give them masks in order to play hide and go seek with them. These are pretty much just mini challenges for the masks that you use. The Deku one is pretty easy. The Goron challenge though, I can't tell which one's worse. This or Icona Tower. This is the most poorly designed part of the entire game. It's not bad because it's boring having to watch the same song over and over again. This is actually bad level design. You're supposed to curl up into a ball and run into these chests, which ricochet you to the next part of the path, but sometimes it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You have to start all over again because you can't get enough speed to continue onward. So it's just this endless loop of falling off over and over and over and over and over again because this just doesn't work. At this point it was like 12 or 1 a.m. I just wanted to go to bed. So I decided to skip this and just continue on to the final boss. And it starts off where he does a bunch of attacks, one of them being a spin attack, which is where you can damage him. And the next phase is where things get a little weird. I mean, get it, I guess. He runs around very fast, but nothing an arrow can't handle. And then the last phase is by far the coolest. He grows a face and also grows whips for arms, which have extremely long range. Shooting him with an arrow will stun him, and then that's where he can do the final blow. But we aren't done with this game yet. There's still a bunch I haven't done yet, such as get the stray fairies back from Icona Tower. And getting all the stray fairies here gives you the fairy sword, which does so much damage. It's so fun to use. I'm so mad that I didn't get it first try, but thankfully the second try wasn't so bad. It got a little annoying here and there, but it wasn't bad. I also decided to get all the heart containers because I fell in love with the Zelda game, and it's been a very long time since I've had this much fun with the Zelda game. Alright, let's go back to the moon now that we have everything. And here we get the Fierce Deity Mask. Oh, how I waited for this moment. Now with the Fierce Deity Mask, the final boss becomes a cakewalk. With the Fierce Deity Mask, you could just obliterate him. You can just hear Majora scream in pain. This is way better than the Master Sword. You actually get to hear your opponent's pain. This is an awesome reward for what I went through. You know, I was thinking about making Majora's Mask a lower rating because of how much I hated Icona Tower and especially that Goron part. But the reward for doing it is just so amazing. Fierce Deity Link reminds me a lot of Supersonic. After you get all the Chaos Emeralds, you feel that unstoppable. This is one of the best 100% completion rewards in a game I've ever played. You don't need everything, you just have to get all the masks, which I did forget to mention some side quests. Andrew and Cafe, I think that's how you say his name, was a peak side quest. Roman Eye Ranch, which is how you get Epona, was a very fun one. This game is just so dang memorable. I highly recommend it to any Zelda fan, whether if you're a fan of the classics or the new ones. This became my new favorite Zelda game. I may hate Icona Tower with all my heart. I may hate that Goron part even more sometimes. The rest of the game is near perfect. I was not expecting this to be one of my favorite N64 games, and yet it did. I give this game a 9.5 out of 10. And with that, I have talked about everything I wanted to with this game. Thanks for watching.